Hey folks, this is Picohan on the North American server, and this is the Tier 5 Premium Italian battleship, the Giulio Cesare, aka the Julius Caesar. The map is Neighbors. It is a standard battle, and of course the matchmaking is Tier 7, but for this ship it really doesn't matter. The Caesar is famous, or infamous, for being pretty overpowered. It has very strong guns combined with a very strong platform. When I say this, I mean like the New York or the Texas also have very strong guns, but the platform is very slow. The turret angles are not very good, the turrets traverse very slowly, and so on and so forth. This is not the case for the Caesar. The Caesar is very fast, the guns are arranged very practically, front and back super firing, they traverse very quickly, and the ship is even very stealthy to boot. The AA is mediocre to bad, but then at Tier 5, nothing really has good AA, so it's hard to say this is much of a drawback. The armor is a bit on the thinner side, but the Citadel is a bit on the lower side, but it's really not any worse than, say, the Congo, which is really fine for Tier 5 in my opinion. Now, you'll notice that this is not my account. This game was played during the Pirate Fleet weekend in August of 2018, where normal scrubs like myself could basically lottery for a press account and let other scrubs kill them for gold if they can. I do own this ship on my main account, but this is basically the first time I'm playing it. And let me stop it right there, because this is basically the epitome of why this ship is so ridiculous. That was my first salvo, the first time I played this ship, and it was a dev strike on that poor Omaha. Now, granted, it isn't Omaha, but that was still pretty ridiculous, and it's not like I'm the best shot either. And just afterward, you can see the ridiculous concealment at work. The enemy Caesar is there, trying to do to my team what I just did, and he's at 13.3. My concealment is 11 point something, so I can drop off after I fire and start turning. Since the enemy Caesar is angled, I am going to try an HE salvo here. I'm not actually sure how good the HE is. This is the only HE salvo I'm firing this game, but it is going to set a fire, so there's that. Enemy Caesar also fires at me, but since I slowed down and I'm angled, it's really not a problem. Against Tier 5 battleships, I don't believe they can overmatch, and so as long as you stay angled, it should be fine. For ships with bigger guns, like the Bear or the Colorado, etc., you just have to either bait them or maneuver such that their shells land on your belt, because they will go through the bow and stern. Shiratsuyu nukes the enemy Caesar, so I take a shot at the Bliskovica, but since I only saw him for a second, it's bad. Originally, I want to keep going south to try to support our destroyer in the southeast corner, but the red DD is doing a smart thing, and he's doing a dumb thing. Basically, the Akatsuki on the other team is isolated, and the Z-39 on our team has two ships to back him up. but he's putting himself in a position such that the two ships behind him can't actually help him because he's behind the island there. And at least while kiting, the Akatsuki is most likely the better gunboat, so our Z-39 is going to lose out on that fight. Don't do that, guys. Maybe he had to dodge torps or something to get in that position, but because of that, I think he kind of threw that engagement. But since there's nothing but a low health Akatsuki on this side of the map, I'm just going to try to start pushing toward the cap. The Shiratsuyu is in front of me, so that should be a pretty good screen against the Bliskovica's torps, and there are some juicy cruiser targets here, even though I can't seem to hit that Kirov. Looking at the Miyoko instead, since the Kirov is running away and the Miyoko is coming toward me, I'm holding my fire here, not necessarily because I expect him to turn out, but I just want him, if he isn't going to turn out, to at least commit to a course. In the end, he does turn out. I do get a good salvo, and there's two citadels. To an extent, I think the concealment again scared him into making that turn because I was able to drop off while we were approaching each other. And now he's kind of screwed because he didn't finish his turn. Basically, if he wants to make more distance, he has to turn out and show broadside. Otherwise, in order to angle, he has to turn in, which puts him closer to me and the Omaha. That being said, he did mitigate damage from my front guns by angling in, because an angled Miyoko is actually pretty tanky, but he just has to keep maneuvering, presumably because of the Omaha or something, and so he got blapped in the end. While I was engaging the Miyoko, you'll notice I turned out toward the south, and that was because I noticed that the Shiratsuyu was no longer between me and this Bliskovica. But then I got a little bit greedy trying to fire at the Kirov, which I still didn't hit, and now I'm driving directly at this guy. I think the Bliss was trying to YOLO torp me, and I think he misplays by stopping and smoking when he noticed that I noticed, because now he's giving me the time and space to turn around and run away, and if I don't fire my guns, he doesn't have vision. So if he hadn't already torped me, now he has to guess. If he wanted to YOLO, and I'm not saying he should have, he still should have just followed through with it. So the Bliss kind of notices this, and he comes out of his smoke and starts chasing me, and now he's really misplaying. If you're a destroyer, it's extremely dangerous to try to chase a fast battleship like the Caesar. At full speed, the difference between our top speeds is only something like 7 knots, and if the DD is trying to close the distance, it's not too difficult to tell when he's launched torps. And for a maneuverable ship like the Caesar, it's also not too difficult to dodge them. Even in the worst case scenario, since you're running away from the torps, at max you'll take like 1 or 2 depending on how big that spread is. Here I kind of screwed up because in the scope mode I couldn't depress the guns enough, but then in the zoomed out mode I couldn't see through the smoke, so I couldn't kill the Bliss before he rammed me. That being said, Ramming a battleship in a destroyer is a really bad idea unless you know they've burned their damage control. The damage you do from the ram is very small, it's entirely healable. The only real asset you have is that guaranteed flood, but that doesn't help when I have my DCP. Also, you saw that spicy salvo against the T-61 for basically 2/3 of his health. Ultimately, I think the Bliss could have disengaged easily after he smoked up and even gotten a torp hit or two, but I think he was greedy for the pirate kill. Since my damage control is down, I don't quite want to chase the T-61 yet, even though he is pretty low. So I'm going to look at the Omaha and the Texas in the east here first. Shot at the Omaha because it was the easier target to delete, but he turned out and we missed. At the same time, we were a little bit too broadside to the Texas, and he chunked us pretty good. But since he's totally broadside to us, we're going to slap him for a juicy 20,000. I think I do make a mistake by turning out here, but by doing so and slowing down, we are able to entirely juke his salvo. That being said, I do recognize this mistake, and I start turning back in. This game might still look close on ship count, but we do have a destroyer in their cap, and this is the Giulio Cesare. There is no problem here. So I'm just going to chase these guys and farm as much damage as I can until the end of the game. Texas is still pretty broadside, so we get another decent salvo. I didn't shoot at the Omaha that time, even though he was like totally broadside, because I didn't want to give more broadside to the Texas. Here, I think he actually holds his fire because at the angle I have to give to fire all my guns, he can do some decent damage, as we saw before, but he's just too low and too broadside, and he's gone. So that's pretty much the end of the game for me. There's no more damage. The Lilian is too far away. The Akatsuki is who knows where. This was a short game, but hopefully you can get a taste of the Caesar. The combination of firepower and quality of life is pretty ridiculous. If you like driving OP ships, this is a total steal, especially since Tier 5 premiums can occasionally be had for 50% off. Just a quick look at the results. That was a casual 100k damage, a silly number of ribbons, and we were top of the team by almost double the second guy. Yes, this ship is that ridiculous. And on that note, this is the end of this video, so have a nice day.